Listeners of SoundCloud and YouTube viewers, what is going on? I'm your host, Icy Vulcan. Welcome back for another weekly segment. This one is called Morning Poop Juice. It is our weekly show that we actually do over at our live stream channel at twitch.tv/IcyShards. We do it every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so if you want to tune in on a morning weekly show that discusses and covers video game news within the last week, then make sure to hop on over at twitch.tv/IcyShards for the Wednesday morning show. Otherwise, this is actually the compact version that I will try to do every week on the same day as well. So I'll try to compile everything that I've talked about, or everything that I found most important from everything that we've mentioned in our Raw live stream show. So the first piece of news that I'd like to discuss for this week is the Avengers project. So a couple of days ago, we got an announcement video trailer for what it seems to be a partnership between Marvel Entertainment and Square Enix. Both companies are actually teaming up to start a series of Marvel Avenger hero games, which are going to be hitting the video game platform. We got the video announcement. The video announcement trailer actually provided absolutely nothing. No gameplay, no actual cinematics. It's just pictures of the Iron Man's gauntlet and Captain America's shield, and some generic lines are basically read off by a female narrator. But it's a minute-long announcement video, and it doesn't actually say anything apart from the fact that we're going to be seeing some Marvel games in the near future that are specifically about the Avengers, the superhero Avengers group. Unfortunately, because of the Square Enix partnering with Marvel for this upcoming series of Avenger projects, the development on Deus Ex, the Deus Ex series, the Cyberpunk series created by Eidos Montreal, has been halted and put on hiatus for now. Unfortunately, Mankind Divided, which was the last game that we got, and the follow-up to the first game, Human Revolution, did not sell as well as the original game. So business-wise, I think Eidos Montreal made the right decision by deciding to collaborate with Marvel Entertainment. I think it is only beneficial. A lot of people will say, "Well, God damn it, screw Eidos Montreal for doing this." But at the end of the day, it's not like it's not like they can't go back to Deus Ex eventually. I think they just want to prioritize and take on new original projects. So I think it is in Eidos Montreal's best interest to create and innovate when it comes to developing games in the industry. So that's my take on that. Moving on with our next piece of news of the week. It looks like Obsidian Entertainment has finally revealed their next game, which they've been teasing over the last couple days over on their Twitter feed. And that game is Pillars of Eternity 2: Deadfire. And that is going to be the direct sequel to the first original game, which actually started as a Kickstarter project. And it was originally titled Project Eternity, raising about $4 million by October 2012. Lots of money involved. And all of that money went to great development. The first Pillars of Eternity is mainly reminiscent of other isometric RPGs such as Baldur's Gate, and it got a lot of good reception, mostly for its intricate combat system, its game length, which goes over 200 hours, and the deep character development. There's so many different characters to discover and to recruit. This time, however, for the sequel, Obsidian Entertainment has ditched the Kickstarter service to use the Fig website, which is a more curated crowdfunding website, with the goal of raising $1.1 million in crowdfunding money. This is about the same amount that the developers had asked for on the first title. Fig is a website that's been previously used by other video game creators for titles like Psychonauts 2, Wasteland 3, and Rock Band 4. Pillars of Eternity 2, the new game, the sequel to the first one, actually takes some of the returning characters from the first game, along with brand new side characters on another epic journey back in the same universe. The adventurers of the game will pretty much go back into the world of Eora, but they will find themselves on a brand new part of the map called the Deadfire Archipelago in search of an ancient god, the god of light and rebirth, Mr. Aethys, who has somehow taken over an ancient statue that's been buried deep in Caed Nua, one of the ancient civilizations buried underneath the earth. And the story starts off with the possessed Titan statue destroying your stronghold and endangering your characters' lives. So you pretty much have to go out there and save yourself and the rest of the world by pursuing this evil god. So your characters will be visiting a brand new region called the Deadfire Archipelago, which is apparently located in the Far East, and there's lots of jungles in there, just very tropical places. And for this sequel, the developers have actually made it so that the player choices and actions executed in the first place carry over to this Deadfire sequel. Additionally, returning fans can expect new changes to the game, like a dynamic weather system. So NPCs within the world, including your characters, will react to weather changes such as rain or, hot blazing sun. So NPCs will often change locations or activities depending on what is going on with the weather. They've also made new improvements, graphical overhauls, and redesigned the user interface to be more newbie-friendly. Otherwise, people can look forward to seeing new visual effects, brand new creatures, interface designs again for inventory and dialogue, so on and so forth. I'm personally incredibly excited for this new Pillars of Eternity sequel, and it looks like they've actually doubled the amount of money raised. With the original goal of 1.1, it is now at 1.9 million, almost double the amount that they had originally intended on raising, and there is still 23 days left to back Pillars of Eternity to Deadfire. The video announcement that they have is actually narrated by Matthew Mercer, who is the voice of McCree in Overwatch and the lead DM in Geek and Sundry's Dungeons and Dragons show, which is pretty successful. Matthew Mercer is very known in the games industry world, and he might actually take part of the voice acting of the game itself. So I'm kind of hoping for that too. But the video that they have, the video announcement for the game, is actually pretty well detailed. They have a bunch of different developers talking about the game itself and what they have to bring for this sequel. And it looks like they're going to make it even longer than the first game. They actually have, again, tier rewards for people that are backing the game. So I might actually consider giving some money to the company myself. I have not actually funded the first Pillars of Eternity game because I didn't know about it back then. I didn't know it was on Kickstarter. But now that I'm aware of it, of the sequel being on Fig, I might consider actually backing the company because the first game was absolutely phenomenal. I still have not finished it. I'm actually pretty far from completing the first Pillars of Eternity. It's immense. There is so much to do and lots of great dialogue, interesting storylines, character storylines, great environmental sound and effects, a nice soundtrack. It's pretty damn good. I would probably give it a 9.10, a 9 out of 10, if I had to give it a rating score. So that's how much I'm ecstatic about this sequel. Speaking of video game sequels, it looks like Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is going to be releasing for PC and Steam in 2017. The original JRPG Ni no Kuni 1 Wrath of the White Witch was a PlayStation 3 exclusive. This time around, publisher Bandai Namco has just announced that Ni no Kuni 2, the sequel, would be releasing for PC and Steam sometime this year. The developer, Level 5, will be releasing Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom simultaneously with the PlayStation 4 version. This is really exciting news because I'm actually a big fan of the Ni no Kuni series, and to hear that the sequel is going to be hitting the Steam service is fantastic news. I've always wanted to play the game at 60 frame rate, and so I'm looking forward to playing a new Ni no Kuni adventure with an improved graphical experience. A report by US Gamer also confirms that the Ni no Kuni 2 sequel will release in North America on the same day of the Japanese release, contrary to the first title, which actually took over a whole damn year to localize in the West. The original Ni no Kuni game was actually developed in collaboration with Level 5 and the renowned animation Japanese studio Ghibli, who are the creators of Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle, some of the best cartoons in the industry. Ni no Kuni, while featuring phenomenal animation and storytelling, actually got a bit of criticism for its battle system and the progression system for the familiars that you had to recruit, these creatures that you found in the open world and had to evolve. It was very similar to the Pokemon system. This time around with Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom will be developed without the majority of Studio Ghibli, the Studio Ghibli team. However, the composer of the music, Ghibli composer Joe Hisaishi, and the animator Yoshiyuki Momose have actually decided to stay on board for this sequel's development. Ni no Kuni 2, while actually remaining in the same universe of the former title, will actually feature new changes and improvements as well. While Wrath of the White Witch included a battle system that was more akin to the Pokemon series, Revenant Kingdom will feature a battle system that is similar to the Pikmin games. During combat, characters will be able to call Higgledies, which are small little spiritual creatures that you call up in battle, and this specific part of the game will actually completely replace the familiar system, the evolution tedious system featured from the first game. And so as someone who has played through the entire first game, I'm excitedly looking forward to playing the sequel. Now, while Bandai Namco has not yet announced a specific release date for the sequel, nor a release window, I get the feeling that they're going to reveal the release date at E3 2016. Hopefully even earlier, but my guess is that Ni no Kuni will get an official release date announcement at E3 of this year, so let's just hope for that. On the same topic of Japanese games, Square Enix last night had a press conference and celebrated their 30th anniversary of their famed series Final Fantasy. And on that press conference, they revealed a bunch of merchandise that they're putting up on their store, as well as new content that they have planned for the next couple months. First of all, they actually announced some DLCs for Final Fantasy 15. They're going to introduce players of Final Fantasy 15 with 2 separate episodes, one for Gladiolus, who is not currently a playable character within the game, and one for Prompto. So Gladiolus is going to get his own DLC on March 28th, and Prompto will get his on June 28th. Apart from those 2 DLC packs, we're also getting a booster pack that features a suit that actually grants invincibility in battle for 30 minutes and then goes on cooldown for 24 hours. It's called the Magitech suit, and this is one of the things that was mentioned for the booster pack DLC, which is promoted as a Power Rangers type gimmick. That is going to be releasing on February 28th. Now, apart from the Final Fantasy 15 DLCs, we got the exciting news that Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, which is actually a remastered version of the original title, would be releasing on July 11th in North America. So this summer, we're going to get the remastered version of Final Fantasy 12, and it actually is going to get some game features, some new game changes to its features. So for anyone that wasn't aware, Final Fantasy 12, the original title, was actually a pretty challenging game, a very lengthy one too. So what the developers are doing for this remastered version titled The Zodiac Age, the developers are rebalancing the game to be easier. They have separate modes for different demographies of players. So they're going to have the trial mode, which are meant for hardcore gamers, And they're also going to introduce a job system. They're finally bringing in 12 total jobs to replace the original job system, which is not really a job system, but more of a progression system, which was considered to be incredibly tedious and was very that it made a lot of original fans very dissatisfied. So apart from the job system and the trial mode and the game rebalancing, we're also getting a bunch of technical tweaks. There's an autosave feature, faster load times, a remastered full soundtrack, as well as 7.1 surround sound. Apparently, the voice acting for the characters of the original game was actually recorded in a garage to accommodate compression issues. So now they're actually going to fix that. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. So apart from the details on the Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age remaster, we're also getting a DLC, a free DLC for World of Final Fantasy, which came out a couple months ago. It's a pretty fun game, by the way. I recommend it to anyone. And so, in conjunction with Final Fantasy XII, World of Final Fantasy is going to get a free DLC called the Champion Summon Baltier. And Baltier is one of the main characters from Final Fantasy XII. He's considered the Han Solo of Final Fantasy XII. So we're getting that completely for free. I'm looking forward to playing more World of Final Fantasy. It's another game that I recently started playing, but I couldn't finish because it's a pretty lengthy RPG, and there are other games that I have to play. So there's only so much time in a day that I can spend playing video games. So apart from the free World of Final Fantasy DLC, which we don't know of a release date yet, we are also getting a Dissidia mobile game for iOS and Android. It's going to be a free RPG title. It's actually already available in Japan, so it's eventually going to carry over to the West. But we know that this Dissidia mobile game is for free and is an RPG that features all of the characters from the fighting portable game on the PlayStation Portable, the Final Fantasy Dissidia game, which is absolutely fun. I've played lots and lots of hours of Dissidia, and hopefully this mobile game means that they'll slowly carry us towards more news involving the Dissidia console game, because as some of you might know, we're supposed to get Final Fantasy Dissidia on PlayStation 4. They had a contract for the game, and the contract has ended. The game is currently available in Japanese arcades. But eventually, I think Square Enix is going to make a big announcement. Again, it might be at E3 2017, and hopefully the Dissidia console version is going to release sometime this year. Now, while there are a lot of returning games and sequels coming out, we're also getting a brand new IP by BioWare. There is a report on Polygon that mentions a new original IP that has been announced by BioWare. We don't know the name of it yet. For anyone that is not familiar with the name BioWare, they're a Canadian developing company stationed in Edmonton, Alberta, and they're most known for great storytelling. They're famous for Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate, the Mass Effect series, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Dragon Age, just a lot of really high-quality games that have curated and well-developed storylines. Now, instead of creating an RPG, this new original IP is going to be an action-adventure instead. However, fans of BioWare games can expect to see RPG character development and story progressions that BioWare is usually popular for. This game is expected to release by March 31st of 2018, so about 1 year from now is when we can expect this new original IP to come out, and that's been confirmed by one of the developers that got interviewed by the Polygon reporter, I believe. So this is going to be an action-adventure, not an RPG, but people can expect some good dialogue and story nevertheless, and it's actually going to have the lead writer from Dragon Age, Mr. David Gator, who is going to stay on board, and he is going to help create the storyline for this new game. Moving on with another piece of news, ZeniMax Media wins a lawsuit against the Oculus Rift, which is the new VR machine that is usable on Facebook apps and PC games. So recently, ZeniMax Media, who is a parent company for developers like Bethesda Softworks, who are the creators of Fallout, ZeniMax Online Studios, who take care of The Elder Scrolls Online, ID Software, the people for Doom, and Arcane Studios, the developers for the Dishonored series, ZeniMax was awarded $500 million for having its VR technology stolen. Apparently, the people at Oculus Rift used the source code and information that was developed over at ZeniMax, and it was utilized to create the Oculus Rift. So ZeniMax originally sought $4 billion in punitive damages, and Oculus was found responsible for $250 million of the $500 million that was owed to ZeniMax. The former Oculus CEO Brendan Iribe owed $150 million for trademark infringement. Additionally, the founder of the Oculus Rift, Palmer Luckey, and the chief tech officer, John Carmack, who was previously with the ZeniMax team, each owed $50 million. So that came up to a total of $250 million. Carmack, who was formerly a ZeniMax employee, admitted during court to have copied emails and source code while being at ZeniMax, but he wrote a completely new one at Oculus Rift. Now, it was also admitted that Palmer, the founder of the Oculus Rift, demoed VR games that were created by Carmack while his time at ZeniMax Studios, and those actually helped develop the Oculus Rift. And this is actually kind of sad. It's a little bit of a sad situation for Carmack. It's a bit awkward for him, but he actually wiped. I think one of the details for this lawsuit is that Mr. John Carmack had actually wiped the information on the hard drive. On the hard drive before getting a notice for the lawsuit, and so they actually tried to cover up proof for that. But unfortunately, Oculus Rift lost a bunch of money, and ZeniMax won the lawsuit, winning a total of $500 million for proving the fact that their VR technology was stolen. And this is pretty good news for ZeniMax, because recently they haven't had a whole lot of success with the Elder Scrolls Online. When it comes to ID Software, the latest Doom game did really exceedingly well. Dishonored 2 more or less had some good sales. A lot of people bought the sequel, but were not as satisfied. They liked the story, but as far as the game, I don't know. Dishonored 2 had, I guess, mixed reviews, but it also had some good moments. Fallout 4 was kind of a letdown, especially with the recent DLCs. So hopefully ZeniMax Media is going to use that money for new development, interesting new IPs, possibly, because ZeniMax has been kind of declining in terms of revenue success, and it could use that money again. Those $500 million, I think ZeniMax was really hoping to win that money, because they're gonna. I would hope that they would actually use the money for new development and for new investments into better Bethesda games, possibly, or Arcane games, so on and so forth. Speaking of ZeniMax and specifically Bethesda Softworks, we recently at E3 2016 got an announcement for a brand new game called Prey, which is supposed to be an upcoming first-person shooter set in space. It's got role-play game elements. It features a male character who fights a lot of hostile aliens, and it kind of reminds us of a little bit of Dishonored 2 coupled with Doom gameplay. It's a mix of both. But this is a brand new IP by Arcane Studios, and I'm mentioning it because we recently got a gameplay video of it about a couple of days ago, and at the end of the video, they actually revealed the release date for the game. So Prey, this 2017 game, is going to be coming out on May 5th of 2017, so expect a brand new Arcane game in early summer. And lastly, as far as Nintendo goes, we recently got a report from the company that they're going to be ending their production of Wii U consoles and Splatoon 2 bundles. So expect the Wii U to be discontinued in the next few weeks. Actually, the developers for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild have confirmed also that it would be the last game to be developed for the Wii U. So after Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is released, we aren't getting anything else for the Wii U, so it is going to retire, and we are going to be moving forward with the new innovative console, the Nintendo Switch, which is also a handheld platform. I'm definitely looking forward to the Nintendo Switch. We actually talked about it in great depth in our previous audio blog. If you haven't listened to it, go ahead and do that. I covered all the details, and I gave my personal thoughts about the Nintendo Switch, which I personally think is going to have a pretty weak launch, and I think with the Nintendo Online paid service, it's not going to be as popular as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are, but maybe eventually down the line, once we get bigger games, more and more AAAs like Super Mario Odyssey and Elder Scrolls Skyrim, I think we can expect some kind of equal competition against PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And lastly, before we end this week's episode of Morning Poop Juice, let's quickly go over some upcoming game releases for this month of February, since we're on the very first day of it. In about 2 days, we're getting Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. It's supposed to be the Wii U version, the handheld version of the original Wii U game. So look forward to that. On February 7th, we're getting the Dark Soulsy Japanese third-person action-adventure game Nioh, Nioh. It is going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it looks pretty damn fun. On February 14th, we're getting the multiplayer PvP game For Honor by Ubisoft. It is going to be releasing on multi-platform, so for PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One. There is supposedly going to be an open beta for it, so be on the lookout for that. Conan O'Brien actually did a Clueless Gamer episode on it. There's a lot of promotion ongoing for this upcoming PvP game, which features... it's very similar to Chivalry Medieval Warfare if you've played that, but it's got bigger servers and it's on a much bigger scale than you think, and there's quite a bit of complex fighting mechanics involved in it. And lastly, on February 28th, we're getting the long-awaited Horizon Zero Dawn, which is going to be another PlayStation 4 exclusive. It was one of the highlights of E3 2016, and I'm personally looking forward to possibly playing this game. It's got interesting combat, exploration. It's pretty open world, and the monster design is particularly cool. The main character, who is a female, looks pretty badass. So I am excited for the AAA game, but again, I barely have any money, and I don't have disposable income to throw around, so I'm going to have to maybe wait for a discount, or maybe I'll afford it. I don't know. I'll have to see whether or not it's worth my money. And then another game that is coming out on the same day is Torment Tides of Numenera. It's actually another CRPG, kind of like Pillars of Eternity, but it actually it has some sci-fi elements coupled with a fantasy universe. So that game is not just going to be a PC title, but it's also coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox. It was also a Kickstarter project, and it is currently in early access, but it is officially releasing on February 28th as well. And that's pretty much it. That's all. Those are all the games that I personally cared about that are coming out for this month. But otherwise, let me know what games you are awaiting for this coming month. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this weekly episode of Morning Poop Juice. Let me know if you like this compact version of our weekly live stream show. Make sure to like the video or to comment on the SoundCloud audio blog or YouTube video, whichever. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter over at twitter.com/icyvolk for life updates, content announcements, and schedules. Otherwise, you can also join us on our Discord server, and you can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/icyvolk. IcyVolk. Otherwise, you can support us monthly over at patreon.com/IcyVolk. If you wish to take a step further in supporting any content that I produce, consider possibly supporting over at the Patreon page. Thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Signing off, your host, Icy.